to be talking to the two of you because obviously I was not thrilled about last night's outcome, but I really, really enjoyed watching the episode with you guys because the whole time, whenever I would look over at the two of you, you guys just still have this smile on your face, despite knowing what was going to happen. And I really loved how appreciative the two of you were of the entire experience. So what I want to know is now this morning, how are you both feeling? Have you had time to process what's going through your mind?
Honestly, last night was so fun. So we're coming off of such a high, believe it or not, from last night. You know, Corey, who was there, came up to me at one point and he was like, "So you guys are here?" Like, "Oh yeah, of course we're here." I mean, if we can do, stay home alone and kind of like hide under our covers. No, like let's celebrate this experience. This is the end of an amazing, amazing part of the journey, and we loved every second of it.
At the end of the day, this is something that millions of people want to do every single season, and we got the opportunity to do that. And I got the opportunity, and I'm sure you know this, James. I got the opportunity to do this with my person. Not everybody gets a chance to do that, so I'm just kind of taking this and kind of feeling great about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's one thing I could definitely relate because at the start of the episode, we hear you both talk about how you were fans of the show before meeting each other. And then now you apply and you get to do it together. So I want to know kind of your journey getting onto the show. Before you all met, did you apply for the show with other partners, or what kind of prompted the conversation between the two of you to be like, we should do this. Let's apply for The Amazing Race.
Never applied before. This was the first time. Lifelong fans of the show, but it really wasn't until COVID when we just rewatched all the previous seasons and
in lockdown,
and then talked about every single decision and challenge. And, we started strategizing organically and started creating notes on our phone, my phone. So yeah, that's when it kind of took off for us and it got serious.
And then we went on my birthday trip, the trip that I ultimately proposed to Joe on. And we got back from that trip. And I was like, you know what? Like, there's not a better time. We're engaged now. We have all this amazing content from this beautiful trip we just took together and have some like very amazing race-y moments that captured by my best friend in the backseat of our rental car. So I was like, if not now, then when? Like, let's just do it.
We're going to post our video.
Yeah, we're going to post our audition tape.
Oh my gosh, please do. Yeah, I loved hearing that little interview with the two of you at the start of the episode because I related so much to it. Like Will and I were big fans of the show before we met. And then when we started dating, we were like, let's do it, let's apply. So I just really related to your guys' story. And especially I think it was you, Ian, that said like how cool that like after all of this and being a fan for so long, I get to do it with Joe. So I love that you two got to do this experience together. I'm a firm believer in timing, and it's always about having the right partner to do it with.
You bet our outcome wasn't like yours and Will's, though.
Well, this like was an equalizer from the very beginning. You're all on the same flight. When you guys arrive in India, you guys seemingly like are in the front. Like you guys are running the pack, it looks like, especially going up that hill. I was exhausted watching the two of you carry that sugar cane. What was going through your mind when you got to the fort, and why did you decide to do the roadblock at the end of the day, Ian? Hi, babe. We were just talking about the roadblock and like why Ian ultimately decided to do it, like what their thought process was.
Go for it.
So when we got that brief piece of information that said who's ready to balance or who's got the balance, we saw that group of elephants. And part of our strategy was like, I would do anything with animals, jokes, because I'm from Ohio and I do Ohio things. And part of Ohio things
farms, etc. I don't know.
So I was like, I'll do it. And also like how cool to like work with these elephants. Well, after getting a little bit more detail, I realized that I would be dancing with pots on my head, which like ultimately was probably the best decision anyway, because like this one can't dance for shit. So
that's the race though. Make this super important decision with no information real quick.
Literally. Literally.
That's why ultimately I did it, which brought its own set of challenges.
How many attempts? I know the last time we saw it, it said third attempt, but when you actually got the clue, it didn't really tell us what attempt you were on. How many attempts did it take to ultimately do it?
Only 4 or 5. It wasn't too many. And Joe, part of his feedback was that I practiced too long. You practiced too long.
That was my feedback, because I think part of the reason we excelled so much at the sword challenge in Thailand was because we left the practice to just try. And that's where we learned how to do it by actually attempting. I thought you would bring that mentality to next one.
Okay, but you two will understand this. In the sword challenge, we only had one other team there, so we could
Exactly.
go over and over and over and over again. This, there were 9 other teams lined up. Like,
That's
it
right.
wasn't
Yeah.
like you could just rapid fire test.
That's true.
So I knew that going up there, I would get an at bat and then have to wait 15 minutes before I would get another one. So it was
A
different.
little more pressure to get it right if you were to actually go and do it because of having to go to the end of the line.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
It seemed like you guys were always sort of neck and neck with Todd and Ashley for majority of this leg. So when you get to the detour, the foot race, was it as intense as it looked while watching it? Because I was freaking out watching the two of you.
More. It was more intense.
Absolutely that intense. We got there at the exact same time. We had the exact same information. We both
Oh
knew
my
that there was
God.
only one spot left at the mural challenge, and that was like the favorite that all the teams were choosing.
Why, we don't know. That's a race we wish we would have lost.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the foot race we won. Come on. But yeah, it was a really intense foot race for sure.
Yeah. When you look at the 2 detours, do you know how long the other one was taking people and then how long it took y'all to do the picture one?
Yeah, we learned after the fact that the doll challenge took people roughly 20-ish minutes, 15 to 20-ish minutes.
Wow.
The average time for the mural challenge was closer to hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Oh my
Hour and a half,
gosh.
2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
me and
wild.
Morgan were at the front of the pack, right, when they
Yeah.
got to the Detour, and they spent 2 hours at the mural, then opted to go to the dolls and still
And
finished.
still,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Speaking of Morgan and Alina, when they decided to switch detours, did it ever cross your mind like, well, maybe we should switch, or did you were strictly just going to stay with the big picture?
We didn't know they
James,
switched.
we thought they finished the mural.
Oh,
We didn't know.
wow!
Yeah, we were so focused on our mural, and we knew they were there, and then they weren't there, so we just assumed
you
that
just
they
assumed.
and they were on their way
Oh,
to the map.
wow!
And then we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
focused on Liam and Jeremy still being there. So that's why when we saw them at the top of where the rickshaws were, it was so crazy to
Shocking.
us. Because it was like we were just not.
We thought
expecting
you
Yeah.
left an hour. We thought you left 45 minutes ago.
that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I died laughing, and my friends who were with me at the viewing party last night got a kick out of it when you guys finally got up to your mural, and then Todd's like, "Is this the last one?" And I forget which one of you, and you looked at him, and you're like, "Yeah, you should probably go to the other detour." I just
Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here. Go.
Beat it.
When Liam and Jeremy got it, though, I think it was you, Joe, where you were kind of like, any pointers? Like, do you guys have anything? What was going on there? Were they just kind of purposely ignoring you guys, or what was happening
listen,
with you guys?
At that point, I have to assume that Liam and Jeremy thought the same thing about Morgan and Lena, that they had gotten it. And so the two of us, we were the last 2 teams there.
I was like, they're not going to help us. Like,
That was
stay focused.
They're
They're not
not
helping us.
I mean, there were so many things. There was the mural, there were the clothes, the way we were posing. So I really had no idea what we had wrong,
Right.
which was so frustrating. So I don't know. It was the Hail Mary. Even if they gave me an answer, what they had wrong versus what we had wrong were probably not even the same thing. So
Yeah. What clicked in your brain to know what was going on with like the things that were wrong in your mural? Like, what was the moment like, oh, this is what we're doing wrong?
Tell the truth.
what's the truth?
So Joe was like, I just put that piece there because I didn't know what went there, and I didn't know that he put a piece on the board that he truly didn't know
Yeah.
belonged on the board. So I didn't look at that piece. I thought that piece was good. Oh, you remember different?
Well, you should have looked at all the pieces. Like I was looking at all the pieces. Both should have been looking at all the pieces.
But I ended up looking at him like, why would you put this on the board if it wasn't right? And he was like, I don't know, because I couldn't find the one that was right. And I'm like, what?
It was an attention to detail that was just like a level above where we thought like race attention to detail really was.
Yeah.
It was way specific.
It was.
I think the like,
everybody struggling
Yeah.
with that challenge.
yeah. I mean, the little pin for the admiral, like the direction of the sash, all of it was so detailed. And I think it's really easy for any team, which we saw, to miss all of those details.
for sure.
Yeah. So when you finally got your clue and you're trying to find your rickshaw, you see Morgan and Lena. I'm sure it like new life in you. You found new life. You're like, oh my God, this is actually going to be a race to the pit stop. You guys just still seem so calm and composed. And you guys are having this sweet moment together talking about like, you know what, whatever happens, happens. Like, we're just so grateful for the opportunity. How close was it actually? Like, do you know, like when you finally got there, like how close behind Morgan and Lena you were?
Within 30 seconds.
Yeah, within 30 seconds. Less than.
And when you saw us pass them in the rickshaw, like we thought that we had it at that point because we knew we could beat them in a foot race. Like we were confident in that. So even if we pulled up to the pit stop right behind them, we were pretty confident we could just like zoom by them, you know? But what you saw in the episode, their rickshaw driver turned literally into like oncoming traffic and like went up a side street, whereas ours went straight and got stuck at a red light. So
the crazy part about this whole rickshaw race is that the palace where both challenges was at the top of a mountain. So we had this long winding road all the way down that was very, very narrow. And we would catch glimpses of Lena and Morgan's rickshaw while we were on our way down.
For like 20 minutes.
But there was absolutely nothing that we could do. We knew two rickshaws couldn't even fit, so we could not pass them. So we actually had like 2 or so miles of just like, okay, well, game on when we get down to the main road. But for right now, let's take this in and like have this moment.
Yeah.
How long was that drive?
It was probably like 15 minutes to the bottom of the mountain and then 10 minutes to where the pit stop was, where Phil was.
That's a lot.
I'm sure it felt like an eternity. When we were in India, we were always like, well, this feels like it's taking forever. Like it just felt like time.
Traffic's crazy.
Oh, and when we passed them, amazing. But then their driver was just like, and then go.
But getting back to your question, like I knew that there was like a likelihood, right? Be it 60-40, 50-50 that we weren't going to survive this leg of the race. And I just like, I wanted us to remind each other that like, regardless of what happens, like this is still a pretty cool experience that we got to do with like I said earlier, James, like my person, like this is my person in the world. And so like getting to do this with him, like whether we were out first, whether we were the winners, like you two, like it's just such a unique experience. And like, it's something we'll literally be telling people about for the next 45, 50 years.
So. I love that. And we could just tell like how appreciative the two of you were. And like, as a big fan of the show, like, I think that's what resonates with me when I watch teams. It's just people who really appreciate the experience. Because you said like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Yeah. So now that we know that the U-turn is coming next leg, I'm curious to know if you guys would have survived and had the opportunity to vote. I just want to know, where was your head at?
Give us some tea.
Who do you think you would have U-turned going into that leg?
So we get to the mat. We get to the elimination mat. Lena and Morgan there.
Jeremy and
Liam are there. Phil says to us, all right, Jonian, do you have any sort of parting wisdom, some parting words of advice to the other two teams who are joining you here on the mat? Without missing a beat, Ian chimes in. Yeah, I've got something. U-turn Stephen Annalee. That's my advice.
Yeah, I had to let everybody know because I feel like people were sleeping on the fact that Annalee was such a fierce and capable, intelligent competitor because she's beautiful and because she's charming. I wanted to make sure that like people weren't sleeping on the fact that like if you let her, she will walk her way to the finish line and win this $1 million. So
she'll
like,
step right.
Do not sleep on her because she's a hustler and she is here to play this game.
All out of respect.
All out of respect.
I mean, as a viewer, you can just see like how competitive she is. So I get the mindset. I think it's strategic. Before we wrap up the interview, you guys said that you learned a lot about each other through this process. What is the biggest takeaway for the two of you to wrap up your Amazing Race journey?
Yeah, I think one of the main things is like, you know, we have our home life here. We're in our little, you know, Manhattan apartment bubble, and we joke and we play pranks on each other and all of this stuff. And what I learned is that like, no matter what scenario we're in, other side of the world, these crazy circumstances, you know, we're still going to do those things, and we're still going to hold true to Joe and Ian and our relationship. And it doesn't matter what's going on around us. We're always going to be true to that. And this whole experience was just absolute validation for that. So I love it.
And for me, it's like, God, if we could do this crazy shit together and come up stronger. Like, yes, let's for sure get married. Like,
let's do all the things.
We can do it. We can literally do anything.
You can literally do anything.
So true. Well, it was so great meeting you guys in New York this week, and I look forward to the next time our paths cross, and you'll finally get to meet Will, and it'll be a great time.
We have to. We have to.
Please.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day, y'all, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Love you guys.